Working for you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Richards.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Yes, and good afternoon to the moderator.
Good afternoon to you.
Now, I have two questions or issues. Now, you are the Minister of Youth, isn't that so?
Yes, I am.
Right. Now, I came across a draft youth policy. I think I found it on some site. And when I inquired about it, it's quite a very good document. I was told that it has not been ratified or passed or adopted or something like that. Are you aware of it?
Yes, I am aware, and the meeting with the staff of the youth department, which I spoke to a few minutes ago, your name actually came up in that meeting because one of the persons at the meeting indicated that you spoke of the National Draft Youth Policy.
Yes, I came across it. I was it's quite good.
Yes.
It has not been adopted or something like that.
It has not been adopted, and it has been there, from what I have gathered, for over 2 years now.
Right.
What I've said to the staff of the youth department, though, is that before we take that particular document to cabinet, to parliament, I would want for us to go out and allow the young persons out there to look at it, to give their input. If you're speaking of a document which was drafted 2 years ago, of course, some of the framers of that particular document would have passed the age of youth, and I am of the view that whatever policies there to guide young persons, it must come primarily from young persons. So while it is very extensive, over the last 2 years we would have had changes, not only in terms of the persons who would have drafted that particular policy.
I think it was a consultant.
Okay, but you would have had changes not only in terms of that, but in terms of some of the issues now affecting young people. You may have some differences, and so you would want the youth policy as much as possible to be reflective of those policies if we are going to adopt it at this particular point in time.
Yeah, that sounds good. Don't drag it out now.
No, I don't intend to drag it out.
That was the next issue I have. Yes. I took part in the Caribbean Growth Forum that we had.
Yes.
And I was on the section with skills and production, skill training and productivity. And the matter was drawn that in St. Kitts, in terms of training, it is deficient and productivity is low. Now, we have had a number of presentations. I think the last one was in St. Lucia. Now, we are talking about opening up of hotels. And I heard the Honorable Lindsey Grant commenting that there were not enough people trained, to man these new hotels. Now that should fall, I think, under your ministry. So have you considered any new stint of training, maybe to train even some of the people on PEP, to equip them so that when these jobs become available, they would be ready? That is my concern, To me, it doesn't make sense. You lament that these things are going to open and everything, and you have all these people on PEP who are trainable. So what, if any, plans does your ministry have to equip the young people with skills to fit our modern economy? That's my question. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, we recognize that training in the field of vocational education is not where we would want it to be. And so currently within the Ministry of Education, there is a greater trust towards offering technical vocational education to our students, first and foremost, and also to persons within the community who would have such an interest. When I assumed the position of Minister of Education, the post of the Chief Executive Officer for our TVET section within the ministry that was vacant, we immediately moved to ensure that someone fills that particular position, because I recognize we were having various discussions with CDB, UNESCO and other partners locally and regionally and internationally about TVET education and moving TVET forward. But yet, right within the Ministry of Education, we were not showing that we were serious when such an important post had been left vacant for quite a number of months. The workshop that I was at this morning, we have a young lady there, consultant, who was at the workshop by the name of Dr. Lucy Stewart. She has been assisting us with getting our TVET program together, in particular with our own framework. I can now say to you that Cabinet has already adopted our framework for our qualifications, be it our national vocational qualifications, our Caribbean vocational qualifications, so that persons can become certified. Now, recently I also had discussions with Mr. Courtney Thompson, who heads the TVET section within the Ministry of Education, with the Permanent Secretary, Mrs. Ione Libard-Willett, with Mrs. June James, who had the National Skills Training Program, and Mrs. Cable at the PEP office, about offering training to the very same persons on the PEP program. And when I say training, I mean vocational training. Whether it is they're interested in auto mechanics, repairing air conditioning units, repairing small appliances, that is something that we have already discussed, and it is a program we are going to embark upon. You spoke in particular to persons being trained in the area of tourism. And yes, Mr. Grant, the Honorable Lindsay Grant, and myself, we have discussed that. We have also had discussions with persons in the private sector who are willing to assist, who are willing to come on board to assist the government with building a center that can be used to train persons for the hospitality, for the tourism industry.